Joining us now with reaction from Washington, Tom Fitton, the president of Judicial Watch and author of the upcoming book, Clean House, Exposing Our Government's Secrets and Lies. Now, Judicial Watch has played a key role in making Hillary Clinton's emails public in several Freedom of Information Act lawsuits, and also made a FOIA request to get today's FBI documents released. Now, Tom, you had some time to comb through some of these documents. What are the most interesting new news that we didn't hear about before? What did you learn?
Well, Mrs. Clinton's memory problem is notable. I count 30, 40 times where she said, "I don't recall." At one point, she said, when asked about briefings she may have had about the handling of documents and what she should have done with them when she was leaving office, she said, "Well, I had a concussion, so I may not remember the meetings." Other documents show that the FBI report shows that she kept her BlackBerry in the secure part of the State Department where classified information is discussed and used, and that's in violation of the rules. You're not supposed to have any computer devices like that, unsecured computer devices in those sensitive areas. And on top of that, she blames everyone else for her classified mishandling. She says, "I trusted the others not to send me material that was inappropriate in terms of being classified," and seems to argue with the FBI why it's okay to summarize and send around and use classified information on her system. But she admits she had what is called original classification authority, which is very important, because that shows she knew and understood her obligations to police everything she was getting at the State Department for classified information. She had individual responsibility no matter what anyone else was doing. And the topper is, supposedly Colin Powell suggested if she told anyone about her device, they would be asking for it and suggest it was government records. And boy, that leads to the conclusion she didn't tell anyone, at least publicly, about her devices because she didn't want anyone to know about them and get the records. And then it turns out, after the story broke in the New York Times, one of her computer people went and deleted her emails. This is after the news broke, and it looks like a meeting with her lawyer took place around the time that happened, and they declined to divulge what was said with Mr. Kendall, her lawyer, citing attorney-client privilege.
While reading this other document, the 47-page document, which, by the way, the last, I'd say 10 or 12 pages are completely redacted, a couple things jumped out at me. They admit they had 13 total devices over the period of her time at the State Department. Previously, I've heard 1 or 2. That now it's 13. But this is how these devices were acquired. Hillary Clinton would send an assistant who would literally go to the same electronics store somewhere in Washington, D.C., and buy it retail. Now, can you imagine that this is the Secretary of State, the most powerful diplomat on the planet, having an assistant walk into an AT&T store, buying a device after about the 3rd or 4th? Don't you realize that the secretary is getting these devices? It seems like it's open, absolutely open for espionage or stealing of information.
Well, exactly right. And 13 devices over 4 years. Now, you know, we all have phones, but who goes through that many phones? So much for the convenience sake. And she recognizes that there were security issues and there were warnings, but of course she doesn't remember some of the details, the key details of that. And we have the documents showing that she was warned repeatedly on the lack of security, yet she continued to do it all the time. And she acknowledges all these documents were sent out, but she can't remember the warnings everyone else in the State Department had. But evidently she didn't bother following.
Tom, at one point there was a line or a paragraph in this FBI document that said Clinton asked for an encryption to be put on the server, but no one did it because they were so frequently fixing the server. They were replacing the software. They said they couldn't put the encryption on. It wasn't going to work. Does that refute some of the things that she's testified as to?
It sure does, and it shows that her server was even less secure than would have been normal for most other servers, even in the private sector. And I tell you, when you look at the rigmarole that they were going through to set up these servers, moving them in and out of different servers, mailing them, they're losing computers, losing Mrs. Clinton's emails in the mail, supposedly, we're told. The key laptop with her archive supposedly was lost in the mail. You know, the FBI, frankly, comes across kind of like the Keystone Cops here. coming to the game very late, asking questions very late in the game, not knowing where any of the key materials are, and relying on, at one point they referencing the campaign website to figure out how many emails she may have had.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Tom Fitton, thank you.